Test, test. Okay. So today was one of those days where you had a lot of yays and then a lot of okays. So this morning, it actually was very streamlined and went by very quickly. It's not the trend, it's more or less the exception. Usually, it takes a while for um, the trash bins to get all sorted out, but today it didn't take half of a day. It actually got over like at 10 o'clock or something like that. Um, that's not normal, but it is very welcome. Um, and then the middle portion of the day actually took up a lot more time than I had anticipated it was. I mean, I was told it was going to take up some time, but I always kind of underestimate how much time driving to the location takes and then the amount of time it takes at the location then driving back. So that leaves me with what I want to showcase today, which isn't going to be a lot. So I'll just choose maybe the simplest and the thing that I think is the most easy to set up and get going. Okay, so while I get these all prepped and set up, let me just kind of go over the more sort of technical and tedious bits of what I've been messing with. So this is a VRM. It's a different format of a avatar file, I guess, than an FBX, or I guess FBX is like the most standard. But basically, it is a format for avatars to be used and 3D models to be used in programs such as Vinyan, VTube Studio, VC Face. I'm trying to think of others, but it's sort of what also helps Slime VR kind of give itself a reference sheet of what is a skeleton. So if we jump into Blender, we can import our subject. This is Ybot from Mixamo. I just made sure to pull something that wasn't in a VRM format, even though I could potentially bring VRMs into Blender. That wouldn't do for our little experiment. So here's the theory, is that even though Slime VR needs a VRM model to sort of reference and more easily understand what is an arm, what is a leg, and how does that move, I don't want to keep having to convert models and FBXs into VRMs and then import it into Blender just so that I can use the motion capture devices and such. So as long as there's a way to translate what is a VRM arm, what is a VRM hand, what is a VRM foot to any other armature's hand, leg, foot, then technically these two things should still talk to each other, even though I'm using Ybot from Mixamo here, and Slime VR is referencing Sanyo, the TV robot that I've been using for a while. And luckily, the program that I've been playing around with up until now, it sort of does that. VMC4B. We isolate the armature that we want to use. There's only one armature, which is interesting though, because it seems like I can also motion capture just solid objects, so I can pretend a box is my foot or my hip. But in any case, we have our armature. And then we could connect at this point, but I don't think anything will happen because there's nothing translating yet. But that's what this section down here is for. So here is where we can actually tell the Mixamo rig hips are equal to the VRM hips. This spine to that spine, this chest is actually spine 1, the upper chest is actually spine 2. And then I don't have the rest of my upper body, so I don't have arms and I don't have a head. Foot, left foot, right leg, right up leg. So now that we have some version of translation going on here, now if we hit connect, I'm currently sitting at this point. So, it is a little wonky, but we have communication here still. So now we have a VRM Sanyo in Slime VR talking to Ybot in Blender on two different PCs. And everything's kind of weird. Oh, that's interesting. So Ybot is acting a lot differently than the models that I've used before, because here my feet aren't staying in line with the hips. They want to move away, whereas my hips are locked to this world origin, I guess. Is that right? Let me put it up on a screen that I can monitor. Yeah, what's going on there? That is weird. Or is it just the way that my hips are turned? So I'm not moving anywhere, I'm just pivoting. So this is me pivoting, pivoting. You know what might be happening? Is that the axis that goes from my feet to my head might be on the green axis, where normally it should be on the z-axis, which is an invisible, currently blue axis that goes up and down. That's interesting. So if I go back here and I turn, so let's go into like a low. Okay, well, in any case, the big breakthrough here is that these two guys are talking to each other. Okay, so regardless of the orientation or how things will work, what matters, and the point of this experiment, was that they talk to each other. So, I mean, to me, that's a breakthrough. I'm sure there's 100 people out there that are just like, what the hell are you talking about? You know what might actually be the cause of that, though, is that I have two trackers that are not being identified on the other PC. Slime VR sees them, but the other PC is just like, what the heck are these? So maybe that might be the cause. So what's left as far as all of these things go is I need to figure out my VR chat situation. I need to figure out my Resonate situation. I need to figure out my situation for other video games type stuff. So that's going to happen in, I think the program was called Live, L-I-V, which just lets me place a camera around whatever avatar is going to be there, and then it sort of green screens in for me the video game in front of that camera so that my avatar is between the camera and the green screen. So I need to figure out my situation there because that's what kind of makes this a lot more exciting. And I guess if I don't think of anything right now, then I'm sure there'll be more stuff that'll just get added to the list later on in the future. But I consider this day a good progress day.